Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining me again. It has been a beautiful day, and not just because of the fact that the weather has been nice, but from my point of view, because I have spent the vast majority of today outside in my garden. And if you have ever joined me before, you will probably be aware that that is one of the places that I love to be. Today did involve some quite hard work though. I've been looking at and experimenting with some different ways of surfacing the paths in between my veg beds. And today I have tried out something that combines that need with my love of using things that might otherwise not have an obvious use and just go to waste. And so it was that I found myself this morning down in the barn shoveling sawdust. There is a reason that they call it sawdust. It is very dusty. I had only done very little of it when I realized that I needed something that for once I did not have with me. The dust was filling the air. I could see it floating around in the sunlight, and I could feel it irritating my throat and my nose and my eyes. You've probably guessed by now, I needed a mask. I laughed slightly to myself as I wandered from the barn back to the house to find a face covering. Normally at the moment, pretty much everywhere we go, we've got one with us, haven't we? But I hadn't expected to need it while I was doing garden work at home. It did sort the problem out though. I kept it on as I shoveled sawdust, and then I kept it on as I shoveled wood ash, and then I kept it on as I mixed the two together and spread it over one small experimental path in my veg garden. Later though, I thought a bit more deeply about this. I thought about how much easier it is to protect yourself from something in the air that you can see than something that you can't see. And then I wondered whether that was actually true. Back in December, for the first time ever, pollution was listed as having contributed to the death of a child. And this didn't happen in one of the places that you might possibly expect. This happened in London. I remember being both pleased at the honesty of the verdict and horrified that it could possibly happen here. We, especially those of us who live in the country, take clean air pretty much for granted. I wondered this afternoon what it might be like to live somewhere where the air was always a risk, not because of a virus, but simply because of the pollution that comes from the way that we choose to live our lives. It wasn't very pleasant imagining, actually, and I think I need to think more about this and the part that I play in that. But in the meantime, I have another poem prayer for you. This is a poem by Helder Kamara. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's called Brother Air. Have you noticed how we humans, for all our civilization, transform you, the guarantor of life, into a spreader of poisons? Have you noticed how we humans, gifted with intelligence and reason, are wounding nature and preparing disasters for ourselves with our own hands? How do you feel when 1,000 sounds, words and music, threats and songs of love pass through you each instant? How marvelous it would be if everything you carried were at the service of goodness and peace. Do you feel a difference between the flight of a bird and the throb of an aircraft? Do you see the spaceships shooting by? Do you go with them to those far reaches? Is there still need of you? No doubt you have knowledge you cannot reveal. No doubt you know well the things beyond earth, and always and everywhere you feel in a wonderful way the presence of your Creator and Father. Do you know that you give us of all images one most close to God? We live inside God everywhere at all times, just as we live inside you. And just as we rarely think of you by day and still less at night, so do we rarely think of our God. If we are without you, even for a few seconds, life is unbearable. Only then do we think of you. Our God fades from our thoughts even more, And yet he never complains of the way we leave him alone, and he never leaves us. O air, please teach us to think of you, and still more, much more, to think of the Father, our Creator, and yours. Amen. Thank you for joining me. See you again tomorrow, I hope. Bye for now.